In the year 2089, Earth was not the same place it used to be. Cities were no longer full of people and life. Now they were silent, empty, and covered in dust. The sky was dark and heavy with smoke. Buildings stood broken like dead trees. Streets were full of cars that would never move again. Aliens had come to Earth 3 months ago. They were called the Zorak. They were big, strong, and they believed they were the kings of the galaxy. They destroyed every city they saw. Humans tried to fight, but they were no match. Most humans ran to the mountains and deep forests, but many were captured or killed. The Zorak soldiers walked slowly through a broken city called New York. Their armor was black and shiny. Their eyes glowed red. Their claws clicked on the hard ground. They looked around carefully, searching for any humans hiding in the shadows. They wanted to find the last survivors and finish the job. Commander Yark was the leader of this alien team. He was taller than the other Zoraks. His armor was thicker, and his red eyes shined brighter. He was proud of his mission. He loved to show power. He wanted to prove that humans were weak, like insects. Yark raised his hand and ordered his soldiers to spread out. The aliens moved like dark ghosts in the silent city. They checked old apartments, broken shops, and empty cars. Sometimes they found a human, but most were already gone. As they moved deeper into the city, Yark heard a strange sound. It was not a scream or a cry of pain. It was soft and weak, like a small animal. He stopped. He listened again. Yes, it was a child's cry. Yark signaled his soldiers. They followed the sound carefully. It was coming from a narrow street between 2 fallen buildings. The ground was full of broken glass and metal pieces. In the middle of that mess, they saw a small human child sitting alone. The child was around 7 years old. He had short black hair covered in dust. His face was dirty and his clothes were torn. His eyes were full of tears. In his hands he was holding something, a small toy. It was a strange toy. It looked like a small silver ball with blue lines glowing on it. The child held it close to his chest, as if it was the only thing left in the world that he cared about. Yark stepped closer and looked at the child. The boy looked back at him. For a few seconds, everything was quiet. The wind stopped, and even the distant gunfire felt far away. Yark felt something inside his chest, something he never felt before, a strange feeling of fear. Why would a big, strong alien commander feel afraid of a small human child? He shook his head. It must be a trick. He lifted his arm and aimed his weapon at the child. The child did not run. He did not scream. He just looked at Yark with big, shining eyes. Suddenly, the toy in the child's hand started to glow brighter. Blue lines moved across its surface, and it started to make a soft humming sound. The Zorak soldiers stepped back. They looked at each other with worry. What is that thing? One soldier asked in a low voice. Yark did not answer. He felt his legs become heavy. His claws started shaking. The toy's glow grew stronger. A small blue light came out and touched the child's forehead. The boy closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Yark felt like he could not move. His weapon felt too heavy to hold. He dropped it on the ground. The sound of the weapon hitting the floor echoed through the street. The boy opened his eyes again. They were no longer just human eyes. There was something deep inside them now, something powerful and old. The child slowly stood up. He looked weak, but there was a strong energy around him. The toy floated above his hands now, spinning slowly. It shined like a tiny star in the dark city. The Zorak soldiers all dropped their weapons. One by one, they knelt on the ground. They did not know why they were doing it. Their minds told them to fight, but their bodies refused to move. Yark fell to his knees too. He wanted to scream, to order his soldiers to attack, but no sound came from his mouth. He felt like a small bug under a giant boot. The boy took a small step forward. His voice was soft, but it echoed like thunder inside Yark's mind. "Don't be afraid," the child said. "I am not here to hurt you." The words were simple, but they carried a strange power. Yark's red eyes shook. He felt tears coming down his face. Zorak's soldiers never cried. It was forbidden, but now he could not stop. The boy looked at each alien soldier one by one. His eyes seemed to see into their hearts. "Why are you here?" the boy asked softly that no one answered. They were all frozen, trapped in some invisible force. The toy floated higher, and a small blue circle of light appeared on the ground around the boy. The circle grew larger, covering the whole street. The buildings around them started to shake. Broken windows fell, and dust rose into the air. Voice came from the toy. It was not the boy's voice, and it was not human. It was something older, deeper, and full of power. "This child is the key," the voice said. "He holds the true spirit of humanity. You cannot destroy him. You cannot control him." Yark felt his mind breaking. Memories of his past battles, the screams of humans, the smell of blood, everything came back to him at once. He felt shame, something he never felt before. The other soldiers started to cry too. Some fell on the ground, covering their faces. Some looked at the boy with wide, scared eyes. The boy stepped forward again. The light followed him, making the ground glow under his feet. "You came to destroy my people," the boy said. "But you forgot one thing. We are stronger than you think." The wind blew stronger now. The dust rose high in the sky, blocking the sun. The boy stood like a small glowing statue in the middle of the storm. Suddenly, the boy fell to his knees. The light around him stopped moving. The toy fell back into his hands. The glow became weaker and weaker until it stopped completely. The soldiers slowly stood up. Their bodies were free again, but they did not move forward. They looked at the boy with fear and respect. Yark looked at the child. For the first time in his life, he felt small and powerless. He wanted to run away, but he could not leave. The boy looked up at Yark. His eyes were tired now. He looked like a normal child again. "Take me with you," the boy said. His voice was soft and kind. Yark did not understand. Why would this child, this powerful being, ask to be taken? "Please," the boy said again. "I don't want to stay." "Here alone." Yark nodded slowly. He called two soldiers with a small hand wave. They walked carefully to the child, their heads low. They picked him up gently, as if he was a fragile flower. The child closed his eyes and held the toy close to his chest again. The toy stayed silent now. Yark turned to his soldiers. "We are going back to the ship," he said in a low, broken voice. The soldiers nodded. They followed Yark, holding the child carefully. As they walked out of the ruined city, no one spoke. The wind blew quietly, carrying the dust behind them. From the tall, broken buildings, shadows watched them leave. Some human eyes peeked from dark corners, shocked to see aliens carrying a human child like a king. They did not understand what had happened. They did not know who that child was or why the aliens did not harm him. But they would remember this moment forever. The soldiers reached their ship parked outside the city. It was a giant dark metal bird with sharp wings. The door opened with a loud hiss. Yark turned back one last time and looked at the city. He felt a heavy pain in his chest. He did not understand the feeling, but he knew things would never be the same again. The soldiers walked inside the ship with the child. The door closed slowly behind them. The engine started to hum. The ship lifted into the air, pushing dust and broken metal away. The ship turned and flew into the dark sky, leaving Earth's surface below. Inside the ship, the child slept peacefully in a small metal bed. The toy stayed by his side, quiet and still. Yark stood beside him, watching. He felt something deep inside that he could not explain. It was not fear, not hate, not even loyalty. It was something new, respect. The other soldiers sat around, heads low. No one spoke. Yark knew that when they reached their home planet, things would change forever. This child was not just a human. He was something bigger, something that could destroy them or save them. For now, all they could do was follow him. In the silent ship, the only sound was the slow breathing of the child and the soft hum of the engines. Outside the window, stars shined bright in the endless dark. The universe was watching. The alien ship flew through the dark space like a silent bird. Stars shined around it, but no one inside was looking at them. Inside the ship, the Zorak soldiers sat quietly. They did not talk to each other. They did not even move much. They were thinking about the small human child they just brought on board. Commander Yark stood near the child's bed. He kept his eyes on the boy, as if he was guarding him. Yark was confused. He had destroyed many human cities before. He had killed many humans without feeling anything. But now, in front of this child, he felt weak and small. The child slept deeply. His chest moved up and down slowly. His face was peaceful, like he had no fear at all. In his small hands, he still held the strange silver toy. Sometimes, the toy would glow softly like a small star. The blue lines on it would move slowly, making it look alive. The soldiers watched it carefully. They did not know what it really was, but they felt that it was dangerous. Hours passed. The ship moved far from Earth, crossing the silent sea of stars. Finally, the child opened his eyes. Yark took a small step forward. The child looked at him and smiled. It was a soft and kind smile. "Where am I?" the child asked in a weak voice. Yark tried to answer, but his voice did not come out. He felt like his throat was locked. He turned to one of his soldiers and pointed. A young Zorak soldier, smaller than the rest, came forward. He looked nervous. He opened his mouth and spoke slowly. "You are inside our ship," he said. "We are taking you to our planet." The child looked around. His eyes were curious, like he was looking at a new toy shop. He saw the dark walls, the strange alien symbols, and the blinking lights. He held up his silver toy and looked at it closely. The toy started to glow a little brighter. "Why did you take me?" the child asked. The young soldier looked at Yark. Yark did not answer. The child did not seem angry. He just nodded, as if he understood everything. He put the toy on his lap. The toy started to move by itself. It rolled slowly on the bed, then stopped. Suddenly, a blue light came out of it. The light formed a small hologram above the toy. The soldiers stepped back. Some of them raised their weapons, but Yark shook his hand to stop them. The hologram showed a moving image. It was Earth. The blue oceans, the green lands, and the white clouds looked beautiful. Then, the image zoomed in and showed different places: cities, forests, mountains, and people. The child watched the hologram calmly. His eyes were soft and full of sadness. The hologram changed again. Now it showed the Zorak army landing on Earth. It showed their ships burning cities, their soldiers catching humans, and their weapons destroying buildings. The soldiers looked away. Some closed their eyes. The hologram changed again. Now it showed something strange. It showed human brains glowing with blue light. It showed energy moving from the brain to the body. Then, it showed a small human child standing alone with a bright blue light around him. The child looked at Yark. His small face looked serious now. "This is what you fear," the child said. His voice was calm but strong. Yark felt a sharp pain in his head. He grabbed his helmet and fell to his knees. The other soldiers also felt pain. They dropped their weapons and held their heads. The child stood up on the bed. The toy floated next to him, spinning slowly. The blue lines on the toy moved faster, and the whole room was filled with blue light. The child raised his hand. "Stop," he said softly. The soldiers froze. Their pain stopped. They felt like their bodies were not under their own control. They could not move their arms or legs. Yark looked up at the child. His eyes were full of fear. Who are you? Yark asked in a shaking voice. The child looked at the toy. The toy made a soft humming sound and then spoke. This child is the key, the toy said. He holds the true power of human potential. You thought humans were weak, but you did not see their hidden energy. This child can control minds, control hearts, and even control the universe. Yark fell to the ground. He felt like he was falling into a dark hole. He remembered all the humans he killed, all the cities he destroyed. He felt heavy, like a mountain was on his chest. The child stepped off the bed and walked to Yark. His small feet touched the cold metal floor softly. He stopped in front of Yark and looked into his eyes. You are not bad, the child said. You were just blind. Yark started to cry again. His tears fell on the floor, making small shining drops. The child turned to the other soldiers. You all can change, he said. You don't have to follow orders blindly. You can choose your own path. The soldiers looked at each other. Their red eyes started to lose their glow. They felt something they never felt before. Freedom. The toy floated higher. The blue light turned into a big circle above them. Inside the circle, new images appeared. It showed planets, stars, and galaxies. It showed different alien species living together in peace. It showed humans and Zoraks shaking hands, working together, laughing together. The child smiled. This is possible, he said. We don't have to fight. We don't have to destroy. The soldiers felt warm inside. They lowered their heads. Some dropped to their knees again, but this time it was not out of fear. It was out of respect. Yark stood up slowly. His legs felt weak, but he managed to stand. He looked at the child. What do you want from us? Yark asked. His voice was low and respectful now. The child looked up at the glowing circle. The toy floated back to his hand and stopped glowing. The room became quiet again. I want to help you, the child said. I want to help you find a better way. Yark felt like a heavy chain around his heart had broken. He looked at his soldiers. They all nodded. The child sat back on the bed. He looked tired now. His eyes closed slowly, and he fell asleep again. The toy rested beside him, silent and still. Yark ordered his soldiers to leave the room quietly. They walked out without making a sound. Yark stayed a little longer. He looked at the sleeping child and felt a strange warmth in his chest. He turned and left the room. Outside, his soldiers waited. They looked at him with new eyes, eyes that were no longer filled with hate or anger. We follow the child now, Yark said. His voice was strong but gentle. The soldiers nodded again. The ship continued flying. It moved toward the Zorak home planet, but inside, everything had changed. In the control room, the pilot looked back at Yark. Commander, we are 2 hours from home planet, the pilot said. Yark nodded. He looked at the dark screen in front of him. He saw stars passing by, and for the first time in his life, they looked beautiful. He turned to the pilot. Send a message to the council, Yark said. Tell them we are bringing a special guest. The pilot looked confused but did what he was told. Yark sat down and closed his eyes. He saw the child's face in his mind. He remembered the soft voice saying, You can choose your own path. He took a deep breath. He felt like a new Zorak, not a soldier, not a killer, just a living being who wanted peace. The ship moved faster now. The engines glowed with blue. Fire. Stars flew past like shining fish in a dark ocean. In his sleep, the child dreamed. He saw Earth green again, full of life and laughter. He saw alien cities with humans visiting them. He saw children playing together, no matter what planet they came from. The toy whispered softly beside him, in a language no one else could hear. You are the bridge, the toy said. You are the light in the dark. The child turned in his sleep and hugged the toy tighter. The soldiers outside his room sat on the floor. talking to each other for the first time without orders. They shared stories of their childhoods on the Zorak planet, about how they were trained to fight since they were young. Some of them cried. Some laughed softly. They felt something they had never felt before. Hope. Hours passed. Finally, the big screens inside the ship showed their home planet. It was a giant blue and green world, full of tall black towers and wide oceans. The soldiers stood up and looked at the screen. "We are home," one soldier said softly. Yark stood and walked to the door of the child's room. He opened it slowly. The child opened his eyes and smiled. "We are here," Yark said. The child nodded and stood up. He held the toy in his hands. "Let's go," the child said. Yark felt something like a wave of light pass through him. He turned and led the way. The child followed, small but full of power. The soldiers followed too, their heads high but their hearts humble. The ship landed slowly on the ground. A big group of Zorak leaders and guards waited outside. Their armor shined in the bright sun. Their eyes glowed red. Yark stepped out first. The leaders looked at him with cold eyes. "Commander Yark," one leader said, "why did you return early? And who is this child?" Yark took a deep breath. He looked back at the child and then at the leaders. "This child is our future," Yark said. "He is not our enemy. He is our guide." The leaders laughed. They thought Yark had gone crazy. They ordered the guards to move forward, but before the guards could step, the child lifted his toy. A strong blue light exploded from it. The guards stopped moving. Their weapons dropped from their hands. The leaders felt their bodies freeze. The child stepped forward. "Enough," he said. His voice was soft, but it shook the whole ground. The leaders felt their minds open. Memories of all the people they hurt, all the planets they destroyed, filled their heads. They fell to their knees, crying. The guards also fell down. They felt shame and fear, but also something new, understanding. The child looked at them with kind eyes. "You don't have to be monsters," he said. "You can be more. You can be better." The leaders could not speak. They just lowered their heads. Yark stood beside the child. He felt proud. The other soldiers came out of the ship and stood behind the child. The sun shined brighter. The air felt warmer. The child held up the toy again. It glowed gently now, like a soft morning light. "Let's start again," the child said. The leaders nodded. One by one, they stood up and dropped their heavy armor on the ground. The guards did the same. A soft wind blew across the land, carrying away dust and old hate. The child took a step forward and smiled. "We will build a new future together," he said. The Zorak leaders and soldiers looked at each other. They felt something they never knew before: hope, love, and peace. They raised their heads and looked at the child. In that moment, the Zorak planet took its first step toward a new future. A future where a human child, with a simple toy, became the light that changed an entire world. The Zorak planet was changing. It had been only a few days since the child arrived, but already the air felt different. The black towers that once looked cold and dangerous now had bright lights and new colors on them. The streets that were always full of soldiers were now quiet. The Zorak leaders no longer wore their heavy armor. They wore simple clothes and walked among their people with soft eyes. Soldiers helped old aliens cross the street instead of guarding with weapons. And all of this was because of one small human child. The child stood on a high balcony of the main Zorak tower. Below him, thousands of Zorak citizens gathered to see him. They had heard stories about him. A human child who stopped their army without fighting, who made their leaders cry and drop their weapons. The child looked down at them. He held the silver toy in his hands. It was glowing softly, like a small moon. Beside him stood Commander Yark. He no longer looked like a fierce warrior. His eyes were kind, and his face was calm. The child took a deep breath. "I know you are scared," he said, his voice echoing across the city. I know you think humans are weak and easy to destroy. But there is something you do not know about. U.S. The crowd listened carefully. No one moved. We humans have a hidden power, the child continued. A power not in our weapons, but in our hearts and minds. It is the power to feel, to forgive, to understand. But we also have something more. He lifted the toy higher. A bright blue light shot into the sky. The clouds above moved away, and a big circle of light appeared. Inside the circle, images started to move like a giant movie screen. The Zorak people looked up in shock. They saw Earth's history, humans learning to make fire, humans building great cities, humans fighting each other, but always standing up again. They saw human scientists, artists, children playing, and mothers holding babies. They saw pain, but they also saw love and hope. Then the images changed. They showed the child himself, alone in the ruins of his city, holding his toy and crying. Then they saw him standing in front of the alien soldiers, his eyes shining with power. The toy began to hum louder. The blue light covered the whole crowd. Every Zorak felt a warm wave inside their bodies. Suddenly, they all saw a vision in there. Minds dot in the vision, the child stood in space, floating among stars. Around him, there were hundreds of blue energy lines moving from his body like rivers of light. Those lines touched different planets and people, giving them power and hope. Zoraks felt their hearts beating faster. Some fell to their knees. Some started to cry. Yark felt the power too. He held his head and saw his own memories, all the battles, all the blood. But then he saw something new. He saw himself standing beside the child, helping build schools, gardens, and peaceful homes. The child turned to Yark. His eyes looked like small blue suns. Do you see now? The child asked. Yark nodded slowly. Yes, he whispered. I see. The child lowered the toy. The light slowly faded, but the feeling in their hearts stayed. The crowd was silent. They looked at the child with new eyes, eyes full of respect and wonder. The child smiled softly. You have strong bodies and strong ships, he said. But true strength is not in power or fear. True strength is in kindness and trust. That is what makes humans special. He looked up at the sky. The toy glowed again, but this time it projected a new image, a map of the galaxy. On the map, many planets were shown in red. Those were the planets the Zorak Empire had destroyed or ruled with fear. But slowly, the red started to turn blue. The child moved his hand, and the toy followed, changing the colors. This is what can happen, he said. We can fix it. We can heal it together. The crowd stood up. They started to cheer. Some shouted, Peace! Peace! Others just cried and hugged each other. The child turned to Yark. Will you help me? The child asked. Yark knelt down and put his head low. Yes, Yark said. I will follow you. I will protect you. The child touched Yark's head softly. You are not my soldier, he said. You are my friend now. Yark looked up. His eyes were wet. He felt lighter, like he was reborn. The child turned to the crowd again. I will go to every planet that you hurt, he said. I will show them what I showed you. I will help them stand up again. You will help me. The Zorak leaders stepped forward. They were shaking. We were wrong, one leader said. We thought only power mattered. We see now. We will follow you. The child nodded. That night, the Zorak city was full of lights and music for the first time. There were no guards on the streets, no orders shouted through speakers. Instead, there was laughter and singing. The child sat in a small garden on top of the main tower. Flowers glowed under the moonlight. Yark sat beside him. The toy floated in the air, spinning slowly. Where did this toy come from? Yark asked softly. The child looked at the toy with a soft smile. It is not really a toy, he said. It is a gift from the old ones. The first humans, long before history began, knew about the power inside us. They made this to guide the future. Only a pure heart can unlock it. Yark listened carefully. So, you are the only one who can. Use it? Yark asked. The child shook his head. No, he said. Many humans have this power inside them. But they don't know it yet. I am just the first to awaken it. Yark felt a strange happiness. Will you teach them? Yark asked. Yes, the child said. I will teach them. And I will teach you too. The toy glowed brighter for a moment, then slowly became quiet again. The child looked at the stars. Do you know why humans always look at the stars? He asked. Why? Ark shook his head. Because we always dream of something more, the child said. Something bigger than ourselves. That is why we never give up, even when we are hurt. Yark looked at the stars too. He felt something deep inside his chest. A small warm light, like a seed starting to grow. In the morning, the child called. A meeting in the main hall. All Zorak leaders, scientists, and soldiers came. The child stood in front of them. His small body looked tiny compared to the big aliens, but no one doubted his power. We will go to other planets now, the child said. We will tell them the truth. We will fix what you broke, but we will not force them. We will show them. Love and let them choose. The leaders nodded. The toy floated up and showed a new map. This time, it had green lines connecting different planets. This is the new path, the child said. The path of unity. Yark stepped forward. We are ready, he said. The child smiled. I know, he said softly. The next day, many ships got ready to leave. The Zorak soldiers packed supplies, not weapons. They carried food, tools, and books instead of guns. On the main ship, the child stood at the front window. Yark stood behind him. Are you afraid? Yark asked. The child shook his head. No, he said. Because I am not alone anymore. The ship lifted off. Many smaller ships followed. Together, they moved into the sky like a group of bright birds. On the ground, Zorak citizens waved and cheered. They did not feel sad or scared. They felt proud. As the ships moved into space, the child closed his eyes. He felt millions of small lights in his mind, the lives of many planets waiting for help. He felt their pain, their fear, but also their hope. The toy floated beside him. You are ready now. The toy whispered. The child opened his eyes. They shined like two small stars. I was born ready, the child said with a soft laugh. Yark laughed too. Together, they flew into the unknown, carrying the message of peace and the promise of a new future. The child and the Zorak fleet moved through space, far from the home planet. The stars were bright, but the mood inside the ships was heavy with tension. Though many had accepted the child's message of peace, some Zorak soldiers and leaders still whispered, in secret. They did not trust the child. They believed the Empire should stay strong by power, not peace. Commander Yark stood in the control room of the main ship. He watched the blinking lights on the control panel, but his mind was not on the mission. He thought about the small human child who had changed everything. Yark had seen the child's power, the strange ability to control minds and hearts, but that power also scared him. Could it be used for something dark? Was the child truly good? In the dark corners of the ship, whispers grew louder. Some soldiers met quietly, away from the child's eyes. They called themselves the Silent Rebellion. They believed the Empire needed to fight back. They believed humans were dangerous and that the child was a threat. One of these rebels was named Vrak. Vrak was a strong and proud soldier. He had fought many battles and lost many friends. He hated to see the Empire weaken. He thought the child was a trick, a spy, or something worse. Vrak met with other rebels in a hidden room deep inside the ship. The walls were cold metal, and only a small red light burned above them. Around the table sat 5 rebels. Their eyes were hard, and their voices were low but angry. "We cannot trust the child," Vrak said. "He controls us now, but what happens when he wants more?" "What if he destroys the Empire from the inside?" Another rebel, Drax, nodded. "We need to act before it is too late. If we do not stop him, the Empire will fall." The rebels agreed to make a plan. They would try to take the child away from the soldiers who protected him. They would capture him and use him as a bargaining tool. Or if they could, destroy him. But they had to be careful. The child's power was dangerous. It could make them freeze or fall to their knees without warning. Meanwhile, the child continued to teach the Zorak soldiers. Every day he spoke to them about peace, kindness, and hope. He showed them how to use their strength to help others, not to hurt. Slowly, many soldiers changed. They smiled more, they laughed more, and they helped each other like a family. Commander Yark believed in the child. He tried to keep the rebels quiet, but he knew the rebellion was growing. He decided to watch them closely. One evening, the child sat in the ship's garden. It was a small place with glowing plants and soft light. Yark joined him, sitting quietly beside the boy. "Do you feel the war inside the ship?" the child asked softly. Yark nodded. "Yes, some soldiers want to fight. They don't believe in your way." The child looked up at the stars outside the window. "They are afraid of change. That is normal. But we must show them a better way." Suddenly, the door to the garden opened. A young soldier ran in. His face was pale and scared. "Commander Yark." The soldier said, "The rebels are moving. They are trying to reach the child's room." Yark stood quickly. "Tell the child. We must be ready." The child's eyes shone with calm power. "I am not afraid." The ship's alarms started to ring. Red lights flashed everywhere. Soldiers ran through the corridors. The silent rebellion was about to strike. Vrak and his group moved fast. They used secret doors and hidden tunnels. They avoided the soldiers who still believed in the child. They were close now. The child stood in the middle of his room. The silver toy floated beside him, glowing softly. He was ready. The door suddenly opened. Vrak and 4 rebels rushed inside. They pointed their weapons at the child. "Give up the control," Vrak shouted. "You are a danger to the Empire." The child looked at them calmly. "I want peace, not control." Vrak laughed. "Peace is weakness, power is everything." The child raised his hand. The toy glowed brighter. A blue light filled the room. The rebels froze. Their weapons dropped. They fell to their knees, gasping for air. But Vrak did not stop. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. The room shook. The blue light flickered. The child winced. He tried to keep the light steady, but the device made it hard. Vrak moved closer. "You cannot stop the Empire. You are just a child." The child closed his eyes. A deep breath came from him. The toy glowed with a brilliant blue light. Suddenly, the device exploded in sparks and smoke. Vrak screamed as he was thrown back. The rebels behind him scrambled to get up. The child opened his eyes. His voice was soft but strong. "I do not want to fight, but I will protect myself." The blue light surrounded the child and the rebels. Slowly the rebels felt peace entering their minds. Their anger and hate melted away. One by one, the rebels stood up. Their eyes no longer burned with anger. They looked confused but calm. Vrak looked at the child with tears in his eyes. Why do you forgive us?" The child smiled. "Because everyone can change. Everyone deserves a chance." The silent rebellion ended that day. The rebels became the child's followers. Commander Yark sighed with relief. He knew the road ahead would still be hard, but now the Empire had hope. The child looked at Yark. "We will face many battles, but with kindness we will win." Yark smiled. "Yes, we will." The stars outside the ship shone bright. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it was full of promise. The peace the child brought was like a gentle breeze. But storms were coming. After the attack on Vexor, the Zorak Empire was divided. Some leaders followed the child's message of hope and unity. Others, like Kral, gathered forces in secret. Ready to fight, Commander Yark stood on the bridge of the main ship. The stars outside were bright, but inside the ship, tension filled the air. The child was quiet, sitting nearby, looking at the galaxy map glowing softly on the table. Yark looked at the child. The Empire is breaking apart. Some still want war. The child nodded. I know, but peace is not easy. We must be strong. Far away, in the dark corners of the Empire, Kral met with his allies. They planned to strike before the child's group could grow stronger. They wanted to take back control. We have spies in every fleet, Kral said. We will hit them where it hurts. Back on the child's ship, the soldiers trained every day. Not with weapons, but with their minds and hearts. The child taught them to control their fear, to stay calm in the darkest moments. One evening, the child called a meeting. The room was filled with Zorak leaders who had joined the peaceful side. We cannot hide from the storm, the child said. We must face it together. Yark stood and spoke. We need to prepare for battle, but not like before. We will fight. With our minds and courage, not hate, the leaders nodded. They trusted the child. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. The ship's sensors detected dozens of enemy ships approaching fast. The child and Yark rushed to the bridge. The red lights flashed. Attack! The commander shouted dot, but the child raised his hand. The silver toy floated in front of him, glowing blue. Wait, the child said. Let me try. The child closed his eyes. A calm light spread from the toy, reaching every ship in the fleet. The enemy ships slowed down. Their weapons stopped. The child's voice echoed in their minds. Stop fighting. Choose peace. Some enemy soldiers hesitated, their hands shaking. Others looked confused. Kral's fleet was stunned. Their leader's orders no longer controlled them. Yark whispered, It's working. But Kral was angry. He pressed a button, activating a hidden weapon. A huge pulse of dark energy shot toward the child's ship. The child raised his hands, and the toy created a bright shield. The pulse hit the shield and shattered into light. The battle was far from over. The ships moved closer, and the child prepared for the next move. He knew the storm was coming, but he also knew the light inside him was stronger than any darkness. The galaxy was quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that came just before the loudest storm. The child stood on the deck of the main ship, looking out at the stars. His eyes were calm, but deep inside, he could feel the final battle coming. The silver toy in his hand glowed softly. It had grown stronger with him. Commander Yark stood beside the child. He had grown to trust the human more than any other Zorak. Yark had once believed in war and fear, but now he believed in the child. The fleets are ready, Yark said. But Kral's army is even larger, the child nodded. We are not just fighting ships, we are fighting old thoughts, old ways. Kral, hidden deep inside a massive space fortress, was ready too. His army had doubled in size. Many of the old leaders had joined him. He watched through a screen as the child's ship approached. His eyes were full of hate. This ends now, Kral growled. No child will control the Zorak Empire. I will bring fear back. He sent his command dot in the cold silence of space. Hundreds of red enemy ships started to move. They came like a wave, dark and fast. Yark gave the order. The child's fleet moved into a defensive shape, but they were smaller, outnumbered. They could not win through power. The child stood still. He closed his eyes. The silver toy rose above his head. It began to glow brighter than ever before. A warm blue light spread across the fleet. It passed through every ship, every soldier, every mind. Suddenly, Soldiers across both fleets began to feel something new. Some felt peace. Some felt memories. Some remembered pain and hope. Krell's own soldiers began to hesitate. On one of Krell's ships, a young Zorak officer looked at his hands. Why am I fighting a child who only wants peace? Another ship's pilot removed his headset and said, This war feels wrong. But Krell was ready for this. He pressed a red button on his throne. His secret weapon activated, the mind. Breaker. It was a dark machine hidden on the fortress. It sent waves of negative energy across space. Fear, hate, anger, every dark emotion flowed like poison into the minds of the fighters. The blue light from the child started to fade. Yark shouted, The fleet is losing control. The child fell to his knees, holding his head. He could feel the fear crawling into him. His heart beat fast. His hands shook. He saw visions of Earth, of war, of pain. He saw himself alone again. But then, something happened. A voice. Soft and clear. It came from the toy in his hand. You are not alone. It was his mother's voice. You carry the light, not just for yourself, but for all. The child opened his eyes. Tears fell, but his heart was steady. He stood. He lifted the toy high, and this time it burst into a massive wave of light, white and gold, powerful and peaceful. The mindbreaker broke into pieces. Krell's fortress shook. The energy wave passed through every ship, breaking every control device Krell had planted in his soldiers' minds. On hundreds of ships, Zorak warriors dropped their weapons. They looked around confused. And then, peaceful. Even Krell's most loyal commanders stepped back. Krell roared in rage. He ran to his escape ship, but Yark was already there. The commander had led a small team to the fortress while the fleets clashed. Yark grabbed Krell by the collar. This is over, he said. The child has already won. Krell screamed, You are weak, all of you. Yark looked him in the eyes. No, we are strong because we chose peace. He turned and walked away as Krell was taken into custody. Back on the main ship, the child was weak but smiling. He had used all his power. Yark returned and stood before him. You did it, Yark said. You brought peace to all of us. The child looked around at the stars. No, we did it together. In the following weeks, something amazing happened. Zorak worlds that had been enemies for years began to talk again. The child traveled from planet to planet, helping rebuild schools, homes, and friendships. He never asked for power or titles, only asked for peace. The Zorak Council, once full of war leaders, now had members who listened to children. One day, a statue was built not of a soldier, but of a small human child holding a silver toy. Beneath it, the words were written, Peace is not weakness. It is the greatest power of all.